All right, we'll get started here in just a second. We'll get the other stream up and running once I adjust the date. All right, let's get that thing running and we'll see how long that takes. Okay, and we are live. All right, good. We've been closed here for just a minute. All right. Market, we came into the last couple days really because the market didn't trigger. Yesterday was an incredibly small bar. We came into today waiting for this buy setup to trigger, and then once that triggers, we are bullish until it takes out the pivot here, which is now 312.99. So under that, we will be bearish, but we're going to remain bullish until then. Weekly is at odds with the daily. Weekly looks lower. Daily is trying to end the downtrend, the longer term downtrend that we've been in this year, so far this year. And so the market's making an attempt here. So, tomorrow will be a big day. I think there's some comments that are going to be made by the Fed. So that will have some impact. But really, we're just going to follow the chart, okay? We really been anticipating this since last Friday, right? We get the pullback. We see when the daily gives us the bounce, what is in store, how much of a bounce. And then wherever that pivot forms, that's going to be our line in the sand. So I'm glad that we got kind of what would make this whole thing easier to read, okay? This whole thing easier to anticipate and to interpret. Okay, because if we had just been kind of grinding lower each day that we kind of did this grind lower, we'd kind of just still be kind of waiting and seeing. So the sooner that we get this pivot to use, right, the sooner that we can kind of have a more well-defined plan. Okay, so shouldn't be anything new here. I mean, yesterday was an inside day. It tried to trigger the buy setup and wasn't able to do so. I think the IWM did. So the IWM maybe, I guess, the first to turn bullish here. Yeah, IWM yesterday did, but then actually came all the way back in. So that actually wasn't really a bullish start there to that. But then SPY also didn't do so. So SPY didn't trigger until this morning as well, same as the Qs. Okay, triggered. We got the move up. So that definitely gives us confirmation that the trigger is for real. Okay, so it's not some kind of false trigger that came right back in, and then we kind of have to wait and see going into tomorrow. Is there going to go back over the topping tail or whatever would have formed if it was a false trigger? So, with all of that out of the way, that makes things easier, all right, as far as the market goes. Okay, so bullish unless we take out yesterday's low. Okay, I'm going to stay bullish on the market. All right, let's go over the plays from today. First play for me was this KPRX. KPRX, I really like this reversal on the KPRX. I played it as just a 1 minute high-low. So I got it a little bit, I think, right before it broke 25. And then stop was under low of the day. And for me, I was looking for 35. Looking for to get to this weekly declining 20 MA. I didn't get there, and then closed it at end of the day. Didn't make barely anything on this KPRX. So was up kind of nice at one point, about an hour and a half in the morning, and trying to stick with it. Really gave it all back. So. Just definitely disappointing. I liked this gap a lot. It is a penny stock. Penny stocks are not really my forte, and they're not my favorite to trade, but I thought this was the best gap. You have an island reversal here. You're gapping up. We're already clearing the immediate resistance there at 28. Once we get through 28, we got room to move. So disappointed in how much it moved, but not disappointed in my management or the way that I traded it necessarily, because that was the plan, to look for the bigger target, and it just didn't work out that way. So that's fine, whatever. Basically a break-even play on this. And then the next play, the TCRT. You might have traded this with me on the mic. I think a lot of people played it. TCRT on this breakout here, off the rising 20 MA over high of the day here. Initially, it broke out and put in this topping tail. I was considering killing half of the play because the stop was down here at 28. Considered killing half, but because the trail would have been so close, the trail would have been like 30, 2 cent difference. I decided to just keep the whole thing. And I'm glad I did, because then once it started going, right, it was pretty good. I took some, once it broke 40, I took some there, and then also on the next new high, and then trimmed it down to just the runner. And so I was in a quarter still when we got to 68, which was 4 Rs. 4 Rs from the entry. And that's really what I'm looking at as final target on the this TCRT. Okay? I ended up getting out like 64, 63. Because I didn't have like a limit order to get me out right at 68. Although that ended up being to the penny the 4R target. So that was a pretty nice move there on the TCRT. Was a little bit sloppy, but nice. And then, the gap, lacking in shock value, but clearing, and then looking higher on the daily, just into an area it hasn't been into in months and months. So had room to move. So less about the shock value there, more about kind of the room it had. And then the last play was this INFN, which we made, I don't know, a couple cents on it. There wasn't much to make. We played this breakout here when it broke out. The stop was down here at 81. So it broke out and then started to pull back. I wanted to see if the 15-minute would end up serving as support. So that's why there was no trail prior to that. Although, maybe this could have failed. This could have fallen through the 15 and not worked. But that is what I wanted to see. Once we got that bounce, I said raise the stop. That cut the stop risk to about in half. And then, like I said, we closed that end of day for a few pennies. It wasn't, there wasn't much to it. I really was hoping that with this shakeout here that I had earlier, I guess you can see it on 5 or 15, we had this little shakeout here that was going to have a little bit more juice to it. The daily was okay. I do like a little bit of this void here up above. That was also part of the appeal for this play. First targets, I was looking for something around 6. That was the weekly 20 MA. Weekly 20 MA at right there at 597. 6, and then if we broke above that, then then we got more room on the daily. So it was really about that. If we can get to that target too, that'll be a really nice play. Okay. So those were the plays from today. Not too bad. There's a lot of them. I think I'm happy with the management. Just a lot of stuff kind of stuck with. I mean, it doesn't mean that all of them closed at high of the day, as you saw. But for the most part, sticking with them was the right thing to do. And then Qs, I think we were kind of ready for this, kind of anticipating, this setup and where we were gonna. It's actually going to be more like 312.99. Getting this daily buy set up. We talked about on Wednesday or Tuesday the pristine buy zone. That's what we call it, the buy zone between the 20 and the 40. If this doesn't hold, then all out bearish. I think if we break underneath yesterday's low, we are going back down to this sub 300, 280 level, maybe even new lows. Okay, so that would be very, very bearish, but we are staying bullish unless that happens. Okay? All right, hope you had a nice day. We'll be back at it tomorrow, and I'll talk to you then. Have a good evening.